What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies.
Hey! It's our midweek episode of the Geek Buddies. We got so much to talk about here today. We got so much going on in the world of entertainment. A lot of Marvel news popping off, trailers popping off, DC news popping off. So much we're covering here on this particular episode. But let's introduce ourselves to those who might be new to our show. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows, movies, and video games.
Hey, and this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you can see me right now on HBO Max's Emmy-winning The Pit.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Anything to say on that? All right. Well, we'll leave that for another show. All right. So the way the show works, for those who might be new, we talk about geek news items, take a break in between, and jump into our main topic. Our main topic is going to be all the Marvel stuff, and we're going to start with a couple of geek news items to begin with, and then we're going to go into talk about the DC stuff. But we're going to start with the Marvel stuff, and the Russo brothers are out again, y'all. They're posting pictures and asking people to quote unquote look hard. And this is from the set of Avengers Doomsday. This is very similar to the picture they posted back in 2018, where they also said look hard before Avengers Endgame. So a lot of people are already speculating that that's an A, that's possibly a V, and that there's an X. So they're teasing Avengers versus Xmen. Other theories have abounded here with all of this stuff. So, Michael, you look at this stuff. What do you take away from this picture? What do you take away from the hype? And what's your feelings on all this?
You know, I know we give James Gunn a lot of shit, but at least when James Gunn posts a picture, it's like, hey, here's a picture of the Fortress of Solitude. Matt Reeves will be like, look at the Batmobile. Like, why did the Russo brothers have to go like, I'm an emo 22-year-old art major at a liberal arts college. Look at my super artsy. What do you take out of the meaning of this thing? Like, come on, show me something good. Don't give me that, because like what happens is what we're doing, and we are a part of it. But like, you get it's an A and an X. These three pieces of metal are being highlighted by the light because Wolverine. So Hugh Jackman is going to be in the movie. The way the cloth is draped over the thing, it's Doctor Doom, and you're like, what? Well, what am I supposed to take away from this?
I think you're supposed to take away A versus X, maybe. I don't know. Shannon, what are your thoughts on this? And what do you think about Michael's characterization of these guys being emo nerds, emo art nerds, for putting something like this up there? What are your thoughts on this, man?
I think the world cinematically is very different than it was in 2018 when they posted that picture of the black and white of the stage.
Also that.
Yeah. And also people were so curious because the movies were supposed to be called Infinity War Part 1 and Infinity War Part 2. And then they took away the Part 1 and the Part 2 and they're like, we're not going to tell you what the second part is, but we've already said it. It's already out there. And so that original black and white photo, it was an A and an E, which we didn't know. Like, well, hey, there's an A and that might be an E. Maybe it's a backward 3. I confess, I fully zoomed in as best I could. I'm like, is RDJ popping his head around? No, it's like, yeah, that looks like an A. That looks like an X. That kind of looks like a 4. I love eagle-eyed fans because I'm not always one of them. I love to see the theories. I think it's a lot of fun. I think old Grumpy McGrumpy Pants up there should leave the Russos and their emo-ness alone. Let them have some fun with their photography 101 class.
Well, I also think, look, I'll continue to be the grumpy guy for a minute, but I'll just be grumpy. I'm going to be grumpy through the Marvel section, and then we'll take a turn. But even if it is A versus X, this version of Avengers versus X-Men, any version of it can be cool. Like, yes, we all want to see a bunch of mutants fight a bunch of Avengers, and the power sets are the power sets. And any way you do that can be really cool. But by the nature of what we already know about where this story is going, yes, two groups of superheroes fighting to protect their own planets from an incursion and being pointed towards each other by Doctor Doom. You're like, okay, but when I really love an Avengers versus X-Men story, I like one where it's a lot more morally gray. Like, this is going to be the classic two groups of heroes fight for what they believe is the right thing to do. And at a certain point, they're like, we fucked up. We should all work together. I like it when the X-Men and the Avengers fight because they really don't agree. Like, when the Avengers are like, we basically represent the government and the people of the United States, and we need to be nice to everyone. And the mutants are like, everyone shits on us, so fuck you, we're going to fight about it. I find that to be more interesting. This version of it is going to be, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, also because it's not the X-Men that are going to be the X-Men.
That's what I mean. It's not going to be the X-Men. Like, we're going to get other X-Men that we're going to spend time with in that universe.
Right, exactly. It's the Fox X-Men that we're going to be getting. So is it going to carry that much weight considering the diminishing returns of a lot of those films in the X-Men universe? I don't think Marvel is obsessed with thinking people have this nostalgic view of this X-Men. There's a lot of us who really don't, who enjoy some of those movies, but really didn't like the overall results we got from some of those installments in the X-Men universe. That being said, there's two ways to look at this. The way I look at it, one, I look at it as this is a fun way to get fans wagging, like Shannon said. But the other thing that occurs to me is exactly what's been occurring to me since they announced Robert Downey Jr. They keep trying to go back in the past and rehash the greatest hits. And we know this, right? When you're seeing a 95-year-old Frankie Valli still trying to sing his songs, you're like, oh my God. So this stuff gets a little like, what is happening here? And you're just like, do we have to keep going back to try to rehash the good times in the past? And it's, we're doing 40-year version on the Cinephiles right now, and there's that scene where Paul Rudd is talking to Mindy Kaling at the speed dating scene, and he's like, remember when we made love and cried under Paris? And she's like, please stop bringing up the old shit we used to do. And that's what it feels like to me with this stuff. So it feels like they're hitting the same beats, but without the same magic, because as Shannon said, it's not, the film world is not the way it was 7 years ago, and Marvel is not where it was 7 years ago, where fans are like, ooh, what's here? Majority of fans are like, ugh, this again, and so I don't know if it hit the right tone.
You say that, although it is true that when the inevitable trailer does come out and we see a shot of James Marsden using his optic blast to knock Captain Marvel back or something, and you do your trailer reaction, we will get the Rocha scream, like, oh, oh, oh.
Only if Wolverine shows up would you get the scream. I don't think you'll get the scream from Cyclops or Jean Grey or anybody else, but Logan, yes, 1,000.
All right.
I promise you, I don't have to read,
Do you think older Cyclops has to have bifocals over his visor?
I just want him showing up with the dude from Jury Duty standing behind him. So we'll see what this all means, but I think it is like Avengers, X-Men, and you point out the 4, Shannon. That's absolutely the rumors are that it's going to be the Avengers and X-Men showing up in the Fantastic Four universe and fighting the Fantastic Four, where that leads us to. But do you guys think this is also teasing, as you said, Michael? Let's hit on that. Are they changing the title of Doomsday? A lot of people, as you said, Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, it became Endgame. So are they maybe going to change the title of Doomsday to be Avengers versus X-Men to get people even more excited to come see it because of the kind of half cool, half not so cool response to Downey Jr. being announced, and even the Fantastic Four movie underperforming?
I think if they were to change that title now, it would backfire incredibly.
Would it reek of desperation? Would it reek
of
100%.
I mean, I think the changing from the Kang Dynasty to Doctor Doom was because Kang is probably not going to be in the movie, and they were introducing us to Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom. I think now to double back again and to be like, just kidding, it's Avengers versus X-Men guest starring Doctor Doom. I think that is very unlikely.
All right. Michael, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think if they try and change it again, it's like, guys, pick your lane, stick to your lane. Nobody cares about the title.
Yeah.
If the movie's good, the movie's good. Like, you're going to own your opening weekend. Everybody knows you're going to own your opening weekend. I even know, as much as I'm sort of watching all of this happen with my arms folded, that trailer is going to come out and it's going to get us excited. Yeah. Like, there's no way it doesn't get us excited and get us wagging, and we will all talk about it and we'll examine every shot and talk about what we think it means. And it will have a huge opening weekend and we're all going to go Thursday night. If the movie disappoints, it will drop off rapidly, and there will be a bunch of articles that Marvel has done and superhero fatigue. If the movie's actually good and we all come out and we're like, guys, they fucking did it, people will go see that movie. It really is 100%. That is what it's dependent on.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of movies that may or may not have been good, we're not going to see a Marvel movie in July of 2027. A lot of people felt it was going to be possibly a Shang-Chi movie, a Black Panther 3 movie, maybe even an early X-Men movie, or Doctor Strange 3. But instead, we're getting the Simpsons movie Part 2. That is what's coming. So, Shannon, your thoughts on this Marvel movie being removed off the schedule and replaced by a Simpsons movie? Do you think we're not going to get a Marvel movie now at any point between what is now Doomsday and Secret Wars?
I don't know. I don't know about I don't know about the Marvel of it. It'll kind of depend on what happens at the end of Doomsday. But in terms of the Simpsons 2 coming out, like, even when the Simpsons 1 had come out in like what, 07, 08, something like that, the Simpsons cultural relevance had been on the wane for a little bit. I mean, there was an argument that maybe it's a little late for a Simpsons movie. The Simpsons movie came out and was quite enjoyable, but the Simpsons has continued to be on the wane. Like that was not on my DVR for a decade now. But if the Simpsons 2 comes out and it's a lot of fun, will it get me to put the Simpsons back on my DVR? Maybe, but I would just love to see another big screen adventure with our favorite family from Springfield. But the fact that it was kind of surprising news. I mean, as far as I knew, I'm like, oh, okay, you kind of hid that under the radar for a little while. I'm curious.
Yeah, Michael, animation movies take 3 to 4 years to get done. So it's amazing they kept this under wraps to the point where they could just announce it. People were pretty surprised that one was even coming. What are your thoughts on this and the Marvel side of this?
I think it's listen, here's the thing. Shannon's 100% right about everything he said about the Simpsons. Are they culturally relevant anymore? Not really. But that first Simpsons movie was great. And despite them not being culturally relevant, if you have kids, I'm willing to bet they've been watching The Simpsons. Like, the thing about The Simpsons is there are, I don't know, 3 billion episodes of The Simpsons on Disney Plus right now. And I know multiple friends of ours who have children whose kids just went onto Disney Plus, started doing it, and are like, I'm going to watch all these. And they've watched every episode of The Simpsons. So Simpsons has hit that point. We are the generation that grew up with The Simpsons. Yeah. We watched The Simpsons be at its peak. We watched it wane. And as Shannon said, even though I'm not a current Simpsons watcher, they announced a Simpsons 2. And I was like, oh, yeah, I bet that's going to be good. They're going to bring their A game for that. I'll go see that. I don't watch Simpsons every week and I don't need to, but like, I'll go see that. Right. But I think what they're really banking on, and I think the reason that this movie got greenlit is because they're looking at the streaming numbers and they're going, well, somebody's fucking watching this, because look at this. People are starting at season 1 and they're just going. And so there's a whole generation that did not grow up with The Simpsons that I think and didn't even grow up or didn't exist when the first movie came out, that are going to be like, oh, I want to go see this. And that's the best thing you can have for a brand. Simpsons has sort of reached the level of where Star Wars was when the prequels came out, or even the sequels.
Yeah, good point. I like the idea. I love, listen, it's a crazy world out there, and there's nothing better than going into a movie theater to enjoy The Simpsons. And it could be a lot of fun. Hopefully it's funny and people can enjoy a messed up family, because so many of us have really unusual families, and we can enjoy the world of Springfield once again, which is always fun, no matter how crazy it gets there. And I imagine they'll have some interesting, fun, topical references to things that are going on in our world currently, which would be fun to see. But the moving of the Marvel movie makes sense. Iger's cutting like crazy, and Iger wants to do less and less. It doesn't mean there won't be a movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a movie between Doomsday and Endgame, because they're putting a lot of effort into both. Not Endgame, sorry, Secret Wars. They're putting a lot of effort into both of these movies and a lot of cast.
I think, we talk about this a lot with Marvel, and I do think we are probably going to have this issue that I think season 4, I think phase 4, phase 5 into phase 6 has been rocky at best. Sure. But I think there's stuff that's good in there that hasn't really gotten its chance to shine. And I think that what's really happening right now is we're going to get through Doomsday and Secret Wars and we are going to get to this next mutant phase.
Yeah.
And you can say goodbye to most of the characters that were introduced in phase 4. I think we are never going to see them or hear from them or speak of them again.
Oh yeah.
I think that there's going to be a bunch of people and a bunch of superheroes and a bunch of plot lines, some that we can all agree we don't need to see more of, but some we all really liked. Yeah. And we're just going to be like, yep, that all just disappeared in the wave of mutant mania that they are hoping takes over. So I think that's where you're seeing sort of, let's pull back on all of this. Let's get through these movies. Let's get this first X-Men movie out. Yeah. And then we're going to go from there.
It's the culling. The culling is
it really is. It's a superhero culling.
Totally. All right, well, let's move on to real quick. Let's hit on this Star Wars story before we jump into some trailers here. This douchebag Rocha over at the Hot Mic dropped this scoop last week, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. He said that the main kid in Star Wars Starfighter is force sensitive. He said his mom is being played by Amy Adams. She seems to be a Jedi. Ryan Gosling, who's in the film, leading the film, is not a Jedi, but he's helping this person escape two evil bad guys who are chasing him across the stars. He has a mission he's on, possibly given to him by Adam. So you hear, first of all, do you trust this guy? And you hear this story. Do you think it carries any real weight? What are your thoughts on this? Shannon, I'll go to you first on this.
I don't trust anyone with the last name of Rocha.
That's a fair point.
To start. In terms of the idea that there would be some sort of force-sensitive presence, that does track, even though it seems like that's something that is well-worn territory by Star Wars. It does certainly track. Like the idea that Amy Adams is a former Jedi, which it's, you're trying to figure out the timing, like how does that work? I saw someone post that they were so certain that Amy Adams was playing Mara Jade, which is from the Star Wars novels.
Can you imagine?
The idea that the kid is cargo and Gosling is the driver, that all makes perfect sense. In terms of what the world is going to look like, supposedly 5 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, I have no idea. Again, the timing of Amy Adams being a Jedi doesn't totally mesh in my head, but the fact that we are getting a Star Wars movie, well, yeah, I guess we're getting The Mandalorian and Grogu too. A Star Wars movie that was designed to be on the big screen initially. That has me excited. And I'm just kidding. If someone's last name is Rocha, I'm
I think we all know you're kidding. Michael, your thoughts on this? Does this make sense? Does this pass your smell test when you hear this stuff? Does it make sense to you?
Well, first you got to consider the source. I checked out this guy's Twitter handle, and boy, what a hack. What a hack this guy is. Just full of a bunch of divisive opinions, just screaming at everybody on the Twitters.
Equally.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing about this is what do you mean Jedi?
Yeah.
How is Amy Adams? First of all, let's just address the Mara Jade thing. You all need to stop.
Yeah, please.
Now, I am 100% sure Mara Jade comes up regularly within the halls of Lucasfilm as well, but not every woman who has red hair who's like it's just like, come on. There's no way in which Luke Skywalker's dead. Now let's introduce Mara Jade. This is secretly Luke Skywalker's child, and they had a torrid weekend on Octo. Like, no, get out of here. But yeah, her being a Jedi really doesn't fit. Now, I did not get the information from this Rocha's source on the Hot Mic, but could Jedi just mean force sensitive? Is this a woman who was force sensitive, who did not ever train as a Jedi and has a force sensitive son? And then you're like, fine, force sensitive people are all over the place. According to Ahsoka, you don't even have to be force sensitive and have the force. Anybody can have the force. So that's cool. So I think that might be, but if she is a Jedi, I'll be interested to see how that is part of the story. But I do think the other part of it is, Obi-Wan Kenobi watched over Luke for a bunch of years, and then we had a series where Obi-Wan Kenobi looked over Leia and then rescued her, and then we've got Din Djarin rescuing Grogu, and now we've got a movie where Din Djarin and Grogu are going on an adventure together, and now we have Ryan Gosling protecting a force-sensitive kid, and it is a tried and true formula, and if they nail it, they nail it, but we've done this multiple times at this point. So I don't know.
It seems like they're going back to the well, just like Marvel is, right? Let's go back to the things that people enjoyed to be safe, right? And so I understand that the Amy Adams Jedi thing could work if she was like one of the students before Luke flipped out over Kylo Ren. And she could have been one of the young students. There's a 23-year age difference between Amy Adams is 51 and Mark Hamill was 74. So it could have been she was one of his students, and then like,
did they all die? What happened? What happened when Kylo Ren went crazy and the Knights of Ren showed up?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to all the people there, but maybe she survived and whatever. And so maybe that's the reason she is. So we'll see. We'll find out, of course. I also agree. I think the Mara Jade thing is, if they do that after Kathleen has been out here pounding the pavement, telling everybody these are not connected films anymore, we're not doing any more of this stuff, it'll drive me insane.
It is a connected. I mean, and I'm not saying that Kathleen Kennedy is lying. This is not they're lying, but the same thing happened with James Gunn putting Nicholas Hoult in Peacemaker last week. Like, there's a difference between this is a universe where everything exists at once and everything is homework and you have to watch it. Like, this is not the beginning of a new trilogy. This is not a big connected story that is tied to Rey and this and that and the other thing. But this is a movie that takes place 5 years after Rise of Skywalker in a universe. Like, characters exist and things can show up. So I think and Mara Jade has never existed in the movies before. I'm not arguing that it should be Mara Jade, but if Amy Adams was all of a sudden like, yes, we're going to say that, again, I'm going to say something that I don't think is true, but, a handful of the students at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple escaped when the Knights of Ren showed up to get Kylo Ren, and a young Mara Jade was one of them, and she learned so much from Luke, and then she imparted it to her child, and she is the connection, and like blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, you can say all that. Cool.
Yeah, and so we'll see when it all goes down, what ends up happening, and we're getting close, obviously, because I think they're shooting. Oh yeah, because they started shooting a couple of weeks ago. So I'm sure more stuff will probably pop up about the movie. Yeah.
I did. You said Marvel does the same thing. I think, look, this is where Star Wars and Marvel and DC is going to do the same thing. It's where they all struggle, and it's what I think we kept saying week after week on our midweek interviews that we were really liking about Alien Earth. The hardest thing to do is to give a fan base, particularly a multi-generational fan base, the thing that they want out of the brand that they love, and give them something new at the same time. Yeah. What ends up happening is you give them, look, we all have different opinions on it, but J.J. Abrams gave us The Force Awakens, and that was very much let me give you exactly what you want in the exact order you want it.
Yeah.
And then Rian Johnson came along and said, cool, let me give you something different. And the reaction was, and then with Rise of Skywalker, it was like, oh, our bad, let us give you what you wanted. And you're like, no, none of us wanted that. And so I think they do struggle with, how do you keep the Star Wars universe, the Star Wars fandom happy, and also get a bunch of people who have given up on the Star Wars universe and say, I don't care about this shit anymore.
Yeah, it's a great point, because I just watched Top Gun Maverick again as I texted you guys in the theater, and I was like, wait a minute. And for the first time ever, I started to see like a lot of the same beats from the Top Gun movie.
The first time ever? That was
legitimate. Like the bald guy sending him, I can't believe I got to send you to Top Gun. He literally says the exact same thing in both movies with Ed Harris in the second movie. The shot of Tom Cruise walking in and teach the guys with the American flag hanging, it's almost exactly the same as Kelly McGillis when she's walking down. So there's a lot of these
things. John, they played shirtless touch football in Maverick, and in Top Gun, they played shirtless volleyball. So clearly, it is two entirely different movies.
That one I definitely caught, right? But the other stuff, but they added two new things like the Penny Benjamin romance, which I thought was really interesting. They made him more human. They had the scene with him in Iceman, which I thought was really touching. And then the stuff at the end with Anthony Edwards' son, there with Miles Teller, that stuff was new. But they added enough that you felt the same beats while also walking its own path. And so, Michael, you're right. It's a difficult thing to do, but when you pull it off, it clearly leads to a lot of money because people love nostalgia and new stuff. So we'll see. We'll see with Star Wars. All right, let's move on to some trailers. Shannon, what do you got for us, bud?
We got trailers. So as of this recording, it is October 1st. We are officially in spooky season. Unofficially, it's September 1st. Officially, it's October 1st. And that's why we get another trailer for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. This one is starring Oscar Isaac as the titular Dr. Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as the monster, Christoph Waltz is popping up, Mia Goth. We've talked a lot about this movie, and visually, you cannot argue the success of Guillermo del Toro as a filmmaker. I mean, he just makes such striking visuals, knowing that this is a passion project of his that he has tried to make for years. The fact that he was able to strong arm a theatrical release for this film from Netflix that starts October 17th for 3 weeks. Everything about this, just on the surface, looks fantastic. And then you dive into the trailer and we get way more from the creature's point of view this time. We get to see sort of the absolute violence that goes into making the death, the horror that goes into making this creation, and the fact that this creation is lonely and wants someone to be with him. And you also see the unrelenting power of this creation. Again, visually, this was just absolutely stunning. Was such a big fan of this trailer. But Mikey, let's throw it over to you first. What do you think of our latest look at Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein?
I mean, this is a trailer where everybody is very attractive and very sweaty through most of the trailer. So first of all, it's a good looking trailer. And Guillermo del Toro's visuals. You know, I sometimes have trouble with some of Guillermo del Toro's storytelling.
Sure.
But I never have trouble with his visuals. His visuals are always the most iconic thing, and this is no different. Much like Tim Burton, Guillermo del Toro loves his monsters. And what I really took away from this trailer, and it was a little bit in the other trailers, but this trailer really goes big on it, is, oh, the monster is not the monster of this movie. That's what this movie is really about. Like, it is very clear in the tagline, only monsters play God. So, I mean, what we are really getting here is a movie from Frankenstein's monster's point of view. And in that point of view, he was just living his life and enjoying his death until a dude came along and did this to him. And everyone has talked about him being the monster for generations. And that is not the monster of this story. And that is a good and compelling twist, and a very Guillermo del Toro twist. So I'm jazzed. I'm super stoked to see this. It really does star two of the most attractive men in Hollywood at the same time. And they can try and make Elordi look as ugly as they can make him, and does not even matter. So I am in.
Johnny?
There you go. Yes.
Is Guillermo del Toro's version alive, or would you prefer to wait for Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride and see Christian Bale?
Listen, I'm definitely ready for Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride for sure. But I did a reaction to this trailer this morning because I've been waiting for a full trailer for this one. I'm so excited to see it. I even watched the Brana Frankenstein over the weekend, which I have not watched in years. It is as bad as I remember it. But the one thing that I like about the movie are the conversations between De Niro's creature and Brana's Frankenstein about his creation, about why he was created, what is his purpose, why did you do this, all these things. And so seeing that element in this version, I really liked hearing Jacob Elordi's voiceover throughout the whole movie about what he's going to do, why this all happened to him. But there's a curious moment, and the Gothic imagery, the Christ references with the way but all of that is amazing. I agree with you, Michael. The visuals, Guillermo never lets us down there. But the thing that was interesting to me that might be the twist is seeing Mia Goth's character caress the face, what I think is the creature. We don't see a pan to see that it's Frankenstein, so I think it's the creature. So if it's the creature, is that a former lover of hers? Is that her brother who had died? Or is this a thing where she has invested in Frankenstein's desire to create this creature, that she in essence has taken on a mother role to this creature? That's going to be fascinating. So if they've made little tweaks to the story, I think it looks, it's going to excite me to see this version as well. And plus the stuff on the Tundra with the ship, that's a great part of the book. And that looks visually like they've nailed that. And they got Gene Hackman to come back to be the blind dude, which I love from Young Frankenstein. But I like seeing that scene in the trailer that's going to be in the movie. So yeah, I'm jazzed.
And if you know the taste of Johnny Rocha, if there's a scene in the snow, that man is in.
That's true.
Man loves his snow.
It's an extra
loves his snow.
So Frankenstein will be coming out October 17th, again, for a limited 3-week window. It is going to be playing in IMAX in some locations. Presumably, this is also to get it in for an awards run consideration.
Yeah.
And also, it will then be out November 7th on Netflix. And speaking of something else that's coming to streaming, we get our second look at the 5-part documentary series called Mr. Scorsese. This is following the life and career of legendary filmmaker Martin Scorsese. You have a lot of folks popping in, giving their takes on what has made him endure as a filmmaker, the way that he has changed over the years. And it's really interesting. And I think it more affects folks of our age that when we were going to see movies, the filmmakers were never the stars. Like maybe Steven Spielberg, maybe George Lucas, but mostly you're looking at the movie stars. Well, as we've gotten older and the age of communication just continues to spread and spread, the filmmakers are starting to become the stars in like the last 20, 25 years. And Martin Scorsese, knowing where he started, like in the 70s and to what he has become, I think this is going to be a fascinating series. But Johnny, we'll throw it over to you first. What did you think of our second look at Mr. Scorsese?
Yeah, I mean, he's such a fascinating guy to study. I've read numerous biographies on him and articles on him and stuff like that. I love Scorsese to pieces. Do I think he always nails it? No, but I think there is something that drives him very strongly. And opening this trailer with that, the struggle that he has always had, is man good or is man evil? I think that's such a window into who he is as a person. And when you see the graphics at the end of the trailer showing those crosses, that is what you know about Scorsese. He is very, very much always looking at and exploring his religious upbringing versus what he sees out in the world. And that decorates a lot of his movies when you look deeper into his film. So I like that they're approaching it from this angle. I like that he's talking about his life, what he's had to do, how he's had to make things happen, how he had to do it himself and walk his own path. So there's so much within the trailer that is exciting. And it was great to see clips of all the movies. Made me want to put them all back on again and do a little Scorsese fest because he's such an amazing director. So I'm excited. 5 parts, damn right. 5 parts, damn right. So I'm looking forward to it.
So, Mikey, you'll get to see sweaty Oscar Isaac in the theaters on October 17th, and then you can come home and see sweaty Robert De Niro from Raging Bull on October 17th. What did you think of our second look at Mr. Scorsese?
I don't need to see all that, but no, I mean, I think this looks really good. I think that, I mean, I would disagree with Shannon in that I think that Scorsese, even as we were growing up, was absolutely one of those filmmakers that you were like, oh no, he's a filmmaker. Like, yes, filmmakers have become bigger and bigger as we've moved on, but Scorsese was right up there with Spielberg and Coppola, and then Tarantino when he came out. You know, there were directors that even in our cinematic education, you were like, oh, I'm not going to see the John Travolta Sam Jackson movie. I'm going to see the Tarantino movie. Right. And I think Scorsese's always been one of those. I think the hard thing when you do a documentary, particularly when you do a documentary about someone who's had a career that has spanned so many decades as Scorsese, is it can just feel like and then this and then this. And I think John really hit on what I liked the most about this trailer, is framing it up at the beginning with, this is the core thing that I have questioned through all of my work. And then watching just these clips from all of these iconic films with all of these iconic actors, that's what makes this compelling. Is tell me a story about Scorsese's drive and what it is he's trying to get to the heart of in a really compelling way that's not just a let's go through every era and talk about the movies that he did. Like, I know he's amazing. I know he's had hits and he's had misses. I know he's one of the most iconic directors of Hollywood. But to really dive into that deeper story and get into that, if you frame that up well, this will be a great 5-part documentary.
Well, again, Mr. Scorsese comes out October 17th on Apple, and that brings us to our last trailer. It is, I'm assuming, our final look at Zootopia 2. If you are excited about this trailer is getting you more excited. If you're just not excited, I don't think we have the same taste. We get more hops, we get more wild, we get more Gary the Snake. We get the revelation that snakes, reptiles are just reviled in Zootopia, and the fact that someone says in the trailer, no snake has set foot in Zootopia. It's like, well, that's true because they don't have feet. Anyways, Mikey, what did you think of our last look at Zootopia 2?
Oh my.
I mean, look, we got a new Shakira song. We got a big old movie. I couldn't be more excited for Zootopia 2. What it really made me wonder is I was watching this trailer, and halfway through the trailer, I was thinking about the bad guys too.
Oh.
And I was thinking about the fact that, like, look, I like the bad guys. I thought it was a fun movie. I still haven't seen the bad guys 2, which should tell you everything you need to know. And that movie did not do well at all. Zootopia 2, I'm not remotely worried about. And I was just wondering, what is the difference? Like, what is that special sauce that Disney put into this franchise? Because people love Zootopia. And I think when you look at what this movie is, I think part of what made that first Zootopia so good and so well received is they really just hit on this predator versus prey thing as sort of a almost an Aesop's fable of like, let's talk about racism without talking about racism, but let's use predator and prey to kind of touch on some of these ideas. And by the end of Zootopia, I don't want to say they solved racism in Zootopia, but they had addressed the things they needed to address, and we all were feeling good about Nick and Judy Hopps. And so to get to the second movie, as opposed to just like, here's another fun romp in Zootopia, introducing this idea of reptiles, which we didn't really touch on in the first movie, and having the idea of there's this idea of what reptiles are. They're just not allowed. Zootopia is this welcoming place, but we don't touch on this. And what that journey is. You know, we already knew from the previous trailer that Nick and Judy are maybe not working as well as we all thought they were going to work as partners. And there's still some conflict there. And I think part of the conflict is going to be around Judy kind of going, well, we got to help this guy. And Nick being like, no, we don't fuck with snakes. And I think that that's smart because it allows them to continue this sort of whole big conversation. The part of the trailer that really got me for whatever reason was there's a part in the trailer where like this turtle shell moves and they all go into what I can only describe as a gay bar filled with snakes. Like it was like the secret bar where the reptiles hang out. And I was like, oh, that's a gay bar. Like, that's what that is. Like, this is we know that society shuns us, but we're going to go all hang out where we can be ourselves. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know where this is all going, but I am very intrigued by this movie. So I'm thrilled. And I think this is going to be another massive, massive hit for Disney. I just think people love this universe and want to come back to it.
Johnny, gay bar with snakes. Are you into it?
I mean, it reminds me of my early days in the 2000s going with Michael to gay bars. There were a few snakes in there for sure.
That is true.
but I will say this. I love this trailer, man. I just, there's just such great chemistry. Was it Jennifer Goodwin and Bateman between the two, right? And they deliver. And there's a sweetness here, like trying to prove to everyone else that we're as good as we think we are. Don't a lot of people feel this way in life? And so I like that there's a universal energy there or storyline there with those two, that, you know, you're good. Why can't other people see it? What do we have to do to get other people to see it? So I think a lot of people struggle with that in life. So it's great to connect it that way. But the animation is gorgeous here. And the Gary the Snake thing, although I thought, oh, why give us this twist already in the trailer? I imagine they're doing that so that because there's much more that they're going to show us here. And the idea of a nefarious mayor. I mean, the horse moment, I fucking had to stop the trailer. I was laughing so hard. The one, I only got to two. I lost my shit at that joke. So that's a great joke. But then when they go into like what looks to be like the swampland and stuff, and the bayou and whatever, and the talking to the walruses, that was
hey
great.
Bubba, hey Bubba, hey Bubba, hey Bubba, Bubba.
You see the snake? That should crack me up, and especially at the end with that little thing coming across, because I've watched enough David Attenborough specials to know exactly what the hell that shit is. So I thought all of it worked really well. So yeah, I'm very excited. I didn't catch all that subtext. I'm like, oh God. So
that's because y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. I was like, I know what that is.
I will watch it for that reason, because sadly, not to get too serious, but sadly, it feels like movies like this that hint at certain things are going to be endangered species over the next few years. And so I want to elevate and support movies that do that and have the guts to keep doing that in this time. So I love it. And I'm on board for this one.
Well, Zootopia 2 comes out November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. So they will have a nice 5-day window to make all the monies.
5 days. Yikes. All right, let's finish out the show by talking about DC. Let's talk a little DC that's going on here. First of all, we got to hit on this, and that is Superman, which is out on HBO Max. It is blowing up like crazy. The numbers have come in. Superman pulled in 13 million views in its first 10 days on HBO Max, which set a new record for the streaming platform. It's the biggest 10-day audience for a film since Barbie got released on HBO Max in 2023. Other titles involving Superman character also saw spikes in their viewership, including the Christopher Reeve story, the documentary, which is amazing, which saw a 670% increase in its viewership. Superman, the movie from Richard Donner, 155% increase. Superman Returns jumped to 120%. And Man of Steel only got a 40% bump, which is a bunch of bullshit. But that's exactly what happened there in that situation. So quite a lot happened here. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this? Michael, you're a resident Superman expert. Do you like these numbers? Are you excited by these numbers? Does this speak to a possibly bigger audience coming in to see Supergirl, Clayface, and then Man of Tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think that. And look, I'm not picking on Man of Steel, but I think that those numbers kind of do make sense. I think that general audiences right now are aware of the Zack Snyder stuff. Like, they saw it in theaters, they know that it exists. It's the most recent. So you checking out Superman, you didn't see Superman in the theater. It's now on streaming. You're going to watch it. Going back and look, like, I think the fact that people are watching it is great. The fact that it has the biggest numbers, streaming numbers since Barbie for them is awesome. I'm glad. But I do think the going back to watch the Christopher Reeve, the Superman Returns, the original Donner Superman, I think that speaks more to the stickiness to me. I think what that says is, I really liked this. I'm kind of vibing. I want more Superman stuff right now. And so I think that leans me to say, oh, you probably are going to go see Man of Tomorrow when it comes out. You've watched it. And so I think, all signs just point to people are into the universe. We're going to see how Peacemaker season 2 wraps up. I think we're going to see how those numbers do, especially after it's done. I think Peacemaker falls into that same category of, there's the people like us that are going to watch it every Thursday night as the run goes on. Mm-hmm. And then there's people that are going to wait for it to finish and go, hey, I watched Superman. I liked it. Should I watch Peacemaker? Oh, yeah, you should check it out. And I think Peacemaker on a binge is going to be a nice, easy watch for people. So, that all just points to people being sort of invested in a DC universe. Now, then it's up to James Gunn and Peter Safran and all of the creatives working there to maintain that interest, which we'll see. If you can write a Superman script in 2 weeks and start shooting it right away and make sure that it's as good as the movie that you already made. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Shannon, I mean, a lot of people are thinking, including Michael, are thinking that Wicked for Good is going to cross $1 billion. And one of the reasons is because people who didn't maybe see it in the theater discovered it on Peacock, on streaming, or on VOD and digital. These numbers are very strong for Superman. And we know there are probably a lot of people who didn't go see it in the theater, and now that they can watch it streaming, are now catching up. So what do you think of these numbers? Does it bode well for the Superman DC universe?
I would say absolutely. I mean, trying to find a comparable situation that Superman and the new DCU found itself in, it's not, there's not a perfect comparison. But I mean, I was thinking like Batman Begins, like Batman and Robin had come out in 1997. It was a big turd. They tried different ideas of like, what can we do? There was going to be Wolfgang Petersen's Batman versus Superman. There was going to be a Batman Year One with Darren Aronofsky. They finally landed on Christopher Nolan doing Batman Begins. And that movie made money, but it didn't make what you would expect a Batman movie. It made $375 million worldwide. 3 years later, after it had gone on to DVD, after it had gone on to HBO or whatever premium cable site, The Dark Knight comes out and it makes $1 billion. Yeah. So the fact that Superman did start, I mean, there will always be people who say it should have made more. This is one of the most recognizable characters in the world. They're not wrong, but I think you're looking at the end of the DCEU that a lot of people had kind of lost interest in. And this new version, like there wasn't a big window in between the DCEU ending and the DCU starting. Right. So the fact that it did make over $600 million globally, and knowing that a lot of people are watching it on HBO Max, that seems to be a good indicator that at least for Man of Tomorrow, is this going to affect Clayface positively? Maybe. It's a very different film. Is it going to affect Supergirl positively? Probably, because you met her in that movie and she had a very memorable scene. But I think there's nothing but positives here. That it has been a long time since Superman has been a consistent presence on our screens, and the vibe that we're getting is that this Superman we're going to see a lot of.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think the numbers bode well for Man of Tomorrow and possibly Supergirl, because I imagine Superman is going to show up in Supergirl, so people will want to see that as a like completist type of attitude. But I also think when you look at the ones that are blowing up, to go back to Michael's point, the fact that the Christopher Reeve story 670%, the movie 155, Superman Returns even at 120%, but Man of Steel lower, it tells you where the public wants what they want out of their Superman. Right? They don't. Yeah. As much as I love Man of Steel, defend Man of Steel, I like the darker approach, so I totally do. But I also,
we know.
Right. But I also understand that a majority of the public doesn't want to see Superman like that, clearly, and these numbers prove that. They went to see more positive, happy Supermans. They weren't putting on Man of Steel as a counterpoint or whatever. They ran to the stuff that made them feel good, which is what they want out of a Superman story. So I think this bodes well that you have touched on what people wanted, and they're now going to catch up to it who didn't go see it in the theater for whatever reasons, and now they're going to trust you to come and see the sequel, Man of Tomorrow, in a couple of years. So yeah, I think this is all just positive for DC. But let's move on to Batman's another tentpole in the DC universe. Talk about Brave and the Bold. Some of the comments here from James Gunn talking about Brave and the Bold and what he had to say about all this really interesting things as well. Like where does he fit on the Brave and the Bold situation? Where is he landing on where he's going to go with it? And this is what he had to say to IGN just a few days ago. The Brave and the Bold script, I like where we are, but added that things are still changing, including whether or not the key character of Bruce Wayne's son, Damian Wayne, is even in the movie. And this is what he said when he was asked about casting Batman. I think you have to wait to see the movie. Some things have changed. Plenty of things are in flux on what his situation is with his parentage and all that stuff. So I wouldn't take any of it. Yeah, I mean, the actor who wants to listen. First of all, I can't tell you the amount of big actors that have told me they want to be Batman. I think you'd have a harder time finding actors who don't want to be Batman. He's the one character everyone wants to play. That's the truth. So it seems, Shannon, like he's playing on all sides of the fence for this Batman. So until he finally lands on it. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, even Damian Wayne's parentage is coming into play on this one. The suspect nature of it all. Your thoughts?
When they made the initial announcement, and obviously things change. You see, like the storytelling takes you this way, it takes you that way. The big point was Brave and the Bold was going to be Bruce Wayne and Damian. The fact that it's like it might not be Damian now. I mean, is it as simple as switching out a Robin? I don't feel like it is, because Bruce Wayne has a different relationship with every kid that has been Robin. So, but again, I mean, if you find the story taking you in another direction, it's like, ooh, is Robin the best? Is Damian the best choice for this film? Also, we've got the animated dynamic duo film that I thought was supposed to be canon.
Yeah, right, that one as well. Yes,
good point. That one is going to be Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. So, I mean, it will be very interesting once all of the bat dust settles and we find out who actually is playing Bruce Wayne in this movie, because there are definitely some folks, couple on this screen right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, that are positive it's going to be Robert Pattinson. We'll see what happens.
Michael, if you're an exec, if you're Peter Safran and you read this, what are your thoughts when you're listening to James Gunn basically say everything about it is in flux, including the foundational pieces of what is Brave and Bold are in flux right now? What are your thoughts?
Well, if I'm Peter Safran, I probably know more of what's going on. And I'm just like, will you stop it? Like, just stop it. Every fucking asshole on every fucking podcast is going to read everything. John Rocha from the Hot Mic is probably going to like bleed into his Donald Trump voice when he reads your quote. And he's not going to, it's going to be a whole thing.
Everybody wants to be
to Shannon's point, and I'm not 100% sure of anything, but to Shannon's point, when I hear that maybe there's a Robin in the Matt Reeves script, but maybe there's not. And somebody says there's a Robin, and then somebody else says, nobody read that, there's no Robin. And then all of the sudden, the piece of the Brave and the Bold that is maybe not in it is Damian, because we don't know about Damian, and everybody wants to play Batman. You're taking all of the issues that are the biggest issues.
Yeah.
If you were to want to take Matt Reeves' Batman and put it into the DC universe, and you're like, yeah, maybe we're not doing those anymore. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to do it. That doesn't mean that at all. They might still have, there's, Frankenstein comes out and everybody goes, it's the best thing ever. And the next thing we know, Elordi's the new Batman. Who knows what's going to happen? Right. But I do think that some of those big barriers, and we've talked about this 1,000 times, but the Robin of it all, a young Bruce Wayne in Matt Reeves' Batman who's figuring out how to Bruce Wayne, who there's no way you're going to go, there was a Robin, there was a Dick, there was a Dick, there was a Tim, there was a Jason, there was a Damian. And now this one over here, you're like, well, okay, if those aren't issues, why wouldn't you do this? Like, why? And I do believe that James Gunn really doesn't want to do it. And I believe that Matt Reeves probably doesn't want to do it. Right. I think the big issue here is that I think Matt Reeves is like, leave me the fuck alone to tell my 3 Batman movies that you said that I could make. My movie did good. Let me do my fucking movies. James Gunn is over here. James Gunn is over here. James Gunn's favorite ideas are James Gunn's ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And so James Gunn is like, I don't want Matt Reeves' Batman. What he did is not what I would do with Batman. I know what I want to do with Batman. This is what I want to do. And I think Peter Safran and some other people are like, I hear you both. But why would we not do this? And so, again, I don't know for sure that that's what's happening, but the more that the Robin piece of it starts to become, well, I don't know, that's what I think. That makes me suspect that maybe these are some of the conversations at play.
You suspect.
Let me tell you something.
You suspect.
Absolutely. I always have that on cue, man, ready to go, because I agree. I think this is really, and I know people come after me because I go after James Gunn too much, but I'm not wrong. I may be wrong in the way I'm going about it, but I'm not wrong that he constantly plays both sides and he loves the drama. He loves the drama. He loves the drama. And nobody who goes on social media that much doesn't love the drama. And I include myself in that sometimes. So I know, pot looking at kettle, I know. But I don't run a fucking studio. And so there's the difference in that way. So I agree with you, Mike. I think you nailed it. The fact that the Robin piece is now all of a sudden in play, and the parentage and the age of, like, they're like, I think he intimated even that Bruce doesn't necessarily have to be his biological father. And I'm like, this is interesting now, the way you're playing this. So to me, this is clearly a thing in flux. And I imagine David Zaslav is like walking down the, listen, you creative bitches are having a good time in your little black box theaters. Let me show you the money, and we're going to fucking do this because I got to sell a studio. So you guys are going to figure it out. I'm going to lock you in a room and you're figuring it the fuck out. And I think that's basically what's going down here and how they're putting it all together. So that's what I think overall. Daddy's coming down the stairs to talk to the 2 boys fighting in the living room.
I would say, I mean, like, I'll classify what James Gunn is doing a little bit differently than you will, and just saying that this is why when you're running a studio, you shouldn't talk as much as him, because I don't think it's that he wants. I don't think it's that he wants to play both sides, or that he loves the drama, or that he's just like loves to stir the pot. I think when you are dealing with, and I don't begrudge him the fact that plans change. Like, I think they would be if James Gunn was demanding right now that the thing that he had announced however many years ago, if those weren't the movies, he was a liar, and that's what they had to do when the scripts and the creative teams didn't go that way. Like, you're obviously going to shift gears and make changes. So, like, I don't begrudge anyone any of that. But when there are all these high-level conversations happening and things are constantly shifting, the thing that you said to IGN last week, and the thing that you say to Screen Rant this week, and the thing that you say to the Hot Mic the following week, those oftentimes are not going to be the same thing. And then everyone's going to pull up every tweet you said. And that's where you start to get into these issues, as opposed to being like, guys, we are so excited about Batman. We've got a bunch of conversations going. We can't tell you anything yet, but as soon as we are ready, you guys, it's going to blow your guys' minds.
But
that's it. That's all you gotta say.
But that's the problem, because he won't say it. It's why I think he loves the drama, because he does say different things to everybody when he's doing, and he's hosting his own podcast for Peacemaker. That's a guy who wants to be in front of the camera and he wants to be talked about all the time.
I mean, you're not wrong. I can't argue that. You're not wrong.
And one more thing here with James before we move on to one last thing. James had a new quote here, because apparently he's got 2 films he's looking at here. So I'm showing off this Ford commercial on screen right. James Gunn right now says, right now there's actually 2 really cool film scripts that I'm hoping to take to the next level that we have general plans for, and I'm excited about both of those. And then I'm excited about one TV project in particular. And here's the line of the quote. I don't know why we're not green lighted on that already. It's figuring out the budget. So there's a couple of things that are very present that I'm excited about, dealing with getting Supergirl into shape, all these other things, watching episodes of Lanterns that's coming along. So it's really just dealing with a little bit with everything, and then mostly Man of Tomorrow. That's the biggest thing for me, and blah, blah, blah. So him saying that he's got 2 other film scripts that he's looking at right now and wants to take the next level, adding more fuel to the fire and all these plans or whatever. So thoughts on that, gentlemen? Whoever wants to go first on that one.
Listen, I mean, it just gets to the point. It's kind of what you're saying. Like, it's so much now that, like, until they officially announce something, he every 5 minutes he says he's excited about a new thing. So it's fine. I'm glad he's excited. Let him be excited about it. I'm gonna wait until they actually announce something officially.
Yeah, Shannon.
Not only announce something officially, but announce something with talent attached and a date, because there was a big announcement a couple years ago with a bunch of projects. So, I mean, Wonder Woman has kind of faded to the background of the chatter. You wonder if that is potentially one of the things that he's talking about in terms of television. I know there was another interview with him where they were talking about the future of the characters in Peacemaker, who makes it out of the season, who doesn't make it out of this season, and where the individual characters could potentially go. And it sounds like, will there be a Peacemaker season 3? Who knows? But those other characters could pop up in different projects. And where would they pop up? And it wasn't me, but the writer of the article was positing the Waller series.
Oh, yeah.
Which that would make sense for Autobio. Anyone that's working for Argus, it would make sense for them to potentially show up in that, despite the fact that we had heard that it had kind of fallen into the background a little bit.
Yeah. We'll see. And speaking of the background, falling into the background a little bit, one last thing. This broke just as we were starting. James Mangold here has apparently signed on here to Paramount. He has signed on an overall deal with Paramount Pictures to develop, direct, and produce feature film projects. And of course, he just did recently a Complete Unknown. Logan was one of his big films as well. But now people are asking, what does this mean for his Swamp Thing and for his Star Wars film that was at Disney Lucasfilm? Gizmodo is saying that Mango still remains attached and available to develop all these other projects. But we just heard James Gunn, as Michael was saying, he talks to everybody, say earlier this week that I don't think I can launch characters that are not that well known. I'm just going to go with the really well-known characters. So is this now Swamp Thing being RIP in essence? Is this why Mangold made this move? Just like Muschietti signing on to do other projects instead of doing Brave and the Bold. What do you think? Am I wrong?
I mean, look, Muschietti's a different situation.
I don't know.
I mean, that man's running around with the stink of microwave babies on him. Like, he's like, that's a whole different situation. You with Mangold, it could go either way. You can sign an overall deal and still have carve outs. You can still do things like he could be developing stuff for Paramount, and he could still make his Jedi Origins movie, and he could still make Swamp Thing. So again, I don't think that there's, and also in terms of the kind of well-known characters James Gunn is talking about, Swamp Thing would still fall under that territory. So
really,
yeah, I mean, he's not like there are the authority. The authority is okay. What were you going to say?
Oh, yeah. Text all the gays and ask them if they know Swamp Thing. And I guarantee you're going to get like 5% that know who Swamp Thing.
If I text all the gays and say, do you know Swamp Thing? Half the texts are going to be like, you mean that guy we met last weekend at Folsom? Like, it's going to be, you're not going to get serious. These are not serious people.
You mean Jared? I think his name is Jared. Calling him Swamp Thing is really unkind, Michael.
Troy? Was it Troy? No, I just think that it's a tea leaves thing. Where like James Gunn said this thing about characters we know. James Mangold signed this overall deal at Paramount, but James Mangold has these movies, but these movies we haven't heard about. I'm going to move these tarot cards around and tell you that means this. And until we hear something, none of that necessarily means that.
Fair point. Shannon, any final thoughts on that?
I mean, agreed. Just because, like, you know, he's connected to a movie at Disney, he's connected to a movie at Warner Brothers. Just because you sign a deal with one studio doesn't mean you're not allowed to do something at another one.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think that Swamp Thing is dead. All right, that's my 2 cents. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us for this particular episode of the Geek Buddies. You guys are amazing, and we love all the comments and responses. Please make sure you let people know about our show. Shannon, what do we have to tell them here as we wrap up, my friend?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. You know a fella named Swamp Thing? Follow Mikey Vogel, @MKToon. If you think Swamp Thing is dead, the project, not the guy.
Not the
Follow
guy.
John Rocha @The Rocha Says.
Mikey.
Go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to John Rocha page. Check out all the amazing content he has got there. Leave your comments below. Do you know a guy named Swamp Thing? Was he at Folsom last weekend? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you thought of everything we talked about today. If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. Look for our review of the most recent episode of Peacemaker coming out later on this week with maybe a couple other things if things pop. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies!